Good morning. I want to thank, of course, IDSA for inviting me and participating in such an important conference. I particularly want to thank the organizers for the hospitality and the warmth shown to me and probably to others. I always feel home here, and I expect to come back. My talk will have three parts. First of all, I'll try shortly to describe our strategic environment. Second, how it affects Israel. And the third part, what can we do about it? I think that I do not share the optimism of our first session yesterday. And actually, I think that the situation is not getting better. Actually, the first trend of the new Middle East, which is, I think, old new Middle East, though this trend has not started with the Arab Spring, it started much before, is a further decline of the Arab states. The Arab states, most of them, with few exceptions, face a tremendous challenge of modernization. And what happened during the Arab Spring is an expression of failing to deal with modernization, and the masses basically having the ability to look elsewhere and to see how other people live, have lost the fear of the tyrants and have moved to the streets. So this is a novelty. And unfortunately, what has been happening since is further affirming the decline of those states. Some of them are being fragmented, torn by civil war, war of identities. I think we see in certain countries a process of political Islamization, which is not good news, because political Islam, as it has developed in those countries, is not an agent for modernization. So I think they'll have to overcome this wave before joining, the 20th century. We see new and old regimes. The monarchies, of course, are doing better. And the new elites are a source of concern. A second trend, again, it's not new, rise of non-Arab actors, particularly Turkey and Iran, who have dealt better with the challenge of modernization and are traditionally, of course, strong countries, regional actors. And those states, Iran, of course, is anti-Western since the Islamic Revolution, and Turkey is gradually distancing itself from the West due to the rule of the AKP since 2002. A third trend, which is again not new, is perceived, and I emphasize perceived, retreat of American power. I think there is a temporary decline which started before the Arab Spring with the ill-advised quest for democracy in the Middle East. Those crusades didn't turn very successfully. And we've seen America retreating from Iraq, soon it will be from Afghanistan. I'm sure America will snap back. I do not share the view of the declinists, and there is a literature saying that America is in decline. In my view, for the next 20 years, if we like it or not, America is still going to be the hegemonic power in the world. I personally like it. Because I stand for democracy and free market, and this is what America stands for. What are the implications for Israel? The first implication is the good news. You know, I don't like competition. You know, that's what I tell my students. You know, somebody's talking there. I'll continue with the bad news, but first of all, I'll say the good news. If I, in strategic terms, the power differential between Israel and its neighbors is growing. Basically, the ability of our neighbors to challenge us seriously is in decline. Particularly in terms of a large-scale conventional war. So in that respect, we look around us. We are concerned for a variety of reasons which I'll soon mention. But basically, our strategic situation has actually improved. What are the problems? First of all, I think that there are strategic surprises. Nobody in Israel really believed that Mubarak will be ditched by the army and by the American president. And this was a strategic surprise. I'm not sure we really can prevent strategic surprises. A colleague of mine here wrote a book on surprises and probably will adhere to this view. It's very difficult to prevent strategic surprises, but this means that we have to prepare for worst-case scenarios and not to accept rosy scenarios and wishful thinking. And many advise us in the world to do just that. I'm not sure that this is a good advice. So strategic surprises can happen in the future. Another repercussion is growing regional isolation. Of course, we lost over the years important regional allies. Iran, an important, since 1979, before that it was an ally. Turkey, the voices coming from Turkey are not very pleasant. Actually, this is a big loss for Israel, losing Turkey. A country with great strategic weight in the Middle East and elsewhere. I think, in addition, the peace process, what's called the peace process, which is basically a reluctant acceptance of Israel as a fait accompli, nobody became a Zionist, beyond our border, has been frozen. And with the rise of Islamists, we cannot expect that there will be a positive change. After all, for many of them, Israel is in religious abhorrence. The U.S., with its current status, is much less able to influence the regional actors to enter into meaningful negotiations. It's seen by the region as weaker, as less reliable, as less able to compensate for risks taken by the participants in the peace process. Obviously, the peace process, as we know it, has come more or less to an end for a while. I don't know what will happen in the far future, but for the next few years, this is what we have. I think also there has been an erosion in Israeli deterrence. Israeli deterrence is not dependent only upon Israel's might, which actually has grown, but is dependent upon the perception that America, in case of need, will come to our help. And unfortunately, this America, particularly the America under Obama, is not seen in this region as a reliable ally. Is seen basically as a country with a leadership that doesn't get it, that is divorced from the realities of the Middle East. We'll see also growing security risks. First of all, we have new elites in power. The new elites in power may miscalculate. We see in Egypt, for example, a new elite that has been partly with experience in domestic affairs. After all, political Islam delivers what the state failed to deliver, and this is why they are popular. So they have experience in health services, in education, but they have very little experience in national security affairs, and they may miscalculate. I'll give you just one example that already happened: demilitarization of the Sinai. For Israel, demilitarization of the Sinai is extremely important. It's part of the peace treaty with Egypt. And if the Egyptians will miscalculate and will violate the demilitarization clauses in the peace treaty, it could be, under certain circumstances, a casus belli. The Egyptians under Morsi have introduced a large number of forces in an attempt that was not very successful to control the Sinai better than in the past. And they took some effort on our part via the Americans to make Morsi order some of those troops to go back. I think that we'll see more terror in the region for two reasons. First of all, as countries, states lose control over their territory, terrorist groups will have greater freedom of action in those countries because the state doesn't control their territory. In addition, the terrorists will have greater access to weapons because the states are unable to secure their national arsenals. We've seen arms from Libya under Gaddafi, after Gaddafi was removed, going to Gaza, to Hamas, a terrorist organization. We know that Israel is fearful that if Assad falls, some of the chemical weapons might go to another terrorist organization, Hezbollah. So the deterioration in the ability of Arab states to control their territory and actually meeting probably the Weberian test of a failed state, no control over monopoly over use of force, is a source of concern. I mentioned already that probably the main concern for Israel is the peace with Egypt. Egypt is the most important Arab country. We are very fortunate that we had a peace treaty since 1979 that benefited both sides, but for us it was very important. And a change in the Egyptian disposition toward Israel can be very harmful. And we've seen what Morsi thinks about Jews in a famous video. It's plain anti-Semitism. So far he has shown some pragmatism, but if his religious convictions will prevail, this is bad news for us. We may see also a deterioration along the Syrian border that has been quiet for so many years. Another area of concern is threats in the Eastern Mediterranean. The Eastern Mediterranean gradually becomes an Islamic lake. Take a look at the map. Tunisia, Islamist. Libya, a greater role for Islamists. Egypt, taken over by Muslim brothers in some kind of coalition with the military. They control, of course, the Suez Canal, which is important. They have allowed already Iranian ships to travel through the Suez Canal, which was prevented for many years by Mubarak. Further east, it's the Sinai. Sinai is unfortunately turning into a Somalia version, in which a variety of terrorist groups are roaming with great freedom of action. Further east, it's Hamas, an Islamist organization ruling Gaza. Israel afterwards, still Jewish, for many years probably to come. And further north is Hezbollah running Lebanon. Further north is Syria, which has never been very pro-Western, and we don't know what will happen if Assad falls. The civil war may continue for a while, but we don't know what will happen there. And it's quite clear that some of the opposition forces include Islamic elements. Turkey, so far a NATO member. I'm not sure that it is a good member of NATO. I think Washington gradually realizes the problems with Turkey, but they don't know what to do about it. We've seen threats of Turkey to Cyprus, threats to Israel. The ability of the Turkish military to act efficiently has been hampered by decapitation, sent to jail so many generals. They have a problem now putting number one in the Navy. So, but still, Turkey is a strong, powerful actor. The last point in this enumeration of bad development is, of course, Iran. Iran gained another year at least in order to continue in its quest for a nuclear bomb. Basically, their strategy has always been, talk and build in order to present the world with a fait accompli. And during the Arab Spring, most of the world was busy with other things, paid attention to Tunisia, which is probably not so important, and Iran was forgotten. And they indeed progressed further on the road to the bomb. So what can Israel do about? First of all, it's quite clear that we have no influence whatsoever over our neighbors. I think generally outsiders have little influence over what's happening in the Middle East, and particularly in the domestic arena. So we are just looking. We have no appetite to engineer, our environment. Political engineering, it's something that is beyond our capability, and I think we realize it. Even the United States was not successful in engineering the political environment of Iraq, and of course, we don't have the type of resources the Americans have. So in light of those multi-front challenges, I think we have to spend more money on defense. We need probably a larger military. We have to defend an additional border with Egypt that was quiet for so many years. We have a lot of infiltration. We spent money on building a fence there. We'll have to expand our Navy, particularly in light of the challenges in the East Mediterranean. We have to defend our newly found gas fields in the Middle East. Legal rights is not enough, and you need military power to make sure that your rights are secured. We have definitely greater need to invest in R&D. This is our edge. This is where we can compensate ourselves for the inferiority in numbers. And we probably have to spend more money in order to complete our missile defense or rocket defense, several layers of this defense. Another clear lesson that we need defensible borders. We can take much less chances nowadays, and we have to territorial chances, and we have to make sure that our borders are defensible. I think that in light of the growing strategic, regional isolation, we have to make sure that our alliance with the United States is well nurtured. Probably you know that there was some tensions between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Obama. I think that both people, both leaders, understand that this has to be fixed. And Israel, of course, we need more America than they need us. But in light of what's happening in the Middle East, the importance of Israel as a strategic ally has grown. America, if it looks from a year, next year, can they be sure anywhere they can land an airplane anywhere in the Middle East? The only safe place, for sure, that an American airplane will be able to land is Israel. So I think we have a good chance to make sure that our American ally is together with us. I think we need to look for additional friendships. I think we found some, Greece, Cyprus, maybe the Kurds can be, South Sudan has turned to Israel, it's a new country. So we need to forge new relationships and to look for new friends. Finally, the most important issue for Israel, and Netanyahu has made it quite clear that this is going to be the first issue on his new government agenda, is of course Iran. And I know that this issue will be discussed later on, and I will just say that the time for the difficult decisions, and this is a euphemism usually for military action, are getting closer. And Israel will have to make up its mind whether to rely on others or to make sure that Iran does not become a nuclear power. So I think that our strategic environment is quite uncertain. We are a strong country. We have a strong society, great social resilience, and ready to fight if needed. We have a strong economy. Israel is it's a story of success. And if we have a responsible leadership, we'll continue to be so. Thank you.